included in the process. How do There we go. Now it's working. All right. So we're going to be talking about school selection, what it is, what it looks like, how to apply, what the schools are, what are these schools looking for, how do I get into them? And then I'll be able to answer some of your questions. And if I'm unable to answer any of your questions, at least point you in the right direction. Um, I just have like my screen up, which is the presentation. So if you have any questions or if you're writing anything in the messages or in the chat, um, I will get to those at the end. So please bear with me. Thank you. All right. So the school selection is a process that allows current school district students from pre-kindergarten to 11th grade to apply to attend schools throughout the district. Pretty much any school that it will be space available. All schools do not have space available. I know some folks have started to look at the process and they're looking for particular schools and aren't seeing them. And that's because those schools have determined that they are full and that there is no space available for the 25-26 school year. And for us, that school is Adair. Folks are looking to stay in the neighborhood, and Adair is not on the list this year because they're saying they're full. So school selection works. It's an online application that comes in any language you might need it in, but it is essentially a computerized lottery system. So you'll apply to the schools through a single form common application. You can apply to up to 5 schools. Um, the application window is open from September 13th until October 23rd. It does not matter when you apply during this open window. It is not a first come, first serve kind of situation. So you can apply anytime during this window and you have the same opportunities as everyone else applying. I must stress that this process does not include charter, parochial, or private schools. So for families who are interested in Catholic schools or Maritime or Franklintown, you do not apply to those schools through this process. This is only for Philadelphia District Public Schools. So there are 3 different types of schools in the school district and 3 different types of schools that you are eligible to apply to. So the first type of school is what we call a catchment school. Hackett is a catchment school. Essentially, it's a neighborhood school. So it's based on your address typically, and it's the community schools that we all know. Also, as we look at middle schools and high schools, we have what are called citywide schools. These are schools that are attracting students from across the city. And you might think of these schools like common high schools like Constitution or SLA Middle School. Some of these don't necessarily have a criteria for getting in, but they do recruit students from across the city, and their enrollment is not based on address or zip code. The final type, and that's the most common type that our families are applying to, are the criteria-based schools. These are schools that have, as the title suggests, have criteria that students need to meet to be eligible for their lotteries. So I'm going to be disclosing to you in a few slides what the criteria are, but they are looking at your students' grades, attendance, standardized test scores. Some schools are looking at punctuality. Some of the schools require auditions. One of the schools requires students to come in and do a team project with other students that they don't know to see how they work together as teams. And the criteria are all different for those criteria-based schools. For the past few years, however, criteria-based schools have also considered specific zip codes in their recruitment. And so I've listed these zip codes here on the screen, but they're pretty small. But the zip codes that have a preference this year are the 19140, 19133, 19132, 19136, 19124, and 19134. If you do not live in those zip codes, it does not mean that you will not get in. It's just that there is a preference for those students meeting criteria living in those zip codes. So since we're mostly all here to talk about the criteria-based schools, let's get into that. So your student must meet the criteria to be included in the lottery. So even before the lottery process happens, the computerized system will look at the certain data points. And if your child does not meet these data points, they will be excluded from the lottery, full stop. And for the purposes of these criteria-based schools, they're looking for data from the last 2 years, and they're taking the best data points from those 2 years. So when it comes to grades, they're looking for the best math grades over the past 2 years. For attendance, they're looking for the best attendance over the past 2 years. They're looking for the PSSAs. If you're applying in for fifth grade going into sixth grade, they're looking for fourth and third and fourth grade. But if you're in fourth grade applying to fifth grade, they will only be looking at last year's third grade PSSA scores. And of course, as I mentioned on the previous slide, some schools do have those additional requirements of presentations, essays, and auditions. So what are the schools? For middle school, there are 6 criteria-based middle schools. There are really 7, but the 7th school is engineering and science, and they don't accept students until 7th grade. So I have left them off this list because we're all we're all 5th graders here, but 4th graders could apply. The schools are Amy Northwest, that is in the Roxborough neighborhood. One of the most popular for our students over the past few years is Girard Academic Music Program, or GAMP, that is down in South Philly. Hill Freedman World Academy is located in Mount Airy. Masterman is in the Spring Garden neighborhood. Conwell is in Kensington, not too far from us. And then there is SLA Bieber, which is in Deep West Philly. And so this is the screen that tells you all about the specific requirements for those schools. As you can see, most of them are looking for A's and B's. There are some exceptions for a C here or there, but they are mainly looking for A's and B's. Students with 95% attendance or higher. SLA Bieber and GAMP, you can get away with the 90% as well for Hill Freedman, Amy Northwest, and Conwell. But to be in the 95%, you have to have no more than, or the 90%, I think, is no more than 9 days absent out of the entire year. They're also looking at the PSSA scores. They want students in the 80th percentile for Masterman, 65th percentile for Carver, which is only for the 7th grade students, or 6th graders going into 7th grade rather. And then SLA, GAMP, looking for the 50th percentile in ELA and math, and same for Hill Freedman, Amy, and Conwell. The schools that have the additional requirements are going to be SLA, Bieber, and GAMP. SLA is doing the group presentations. In the past few years, they were doing those online because of COVID, but I'm sure this year they'll be back in person, and GAMP's audition will be in person. GAMP's audition, they typically, if a student plays an instrument at school, they will do perform a piece using that instrument that they have at school, but they will also have to sing something as some choral piece. Last year, they did not let me know when their auditions were going to be ahead of time, and prior years they have. And so I've been able to work with Mr. Good and Miss Cook, Mr. Cook, I think that's Miss Coco now, and Miss D, to really prepare our students so they're ready for their auditions. So I'll try to make sure that I reach out to GAMP to make sure I'm getting that information a little early, so we can at least have a week for our teachers to be able to work with them to prepare and practice something before they go out on their audition. All right. So in addition to those special admission schools or criteria-based schools, there are also citywide admission schools. And Amy at James Martin, or Amy 5, it has been the most popular one for our students over the years. Right now, Amy is housed at Penn Treaty, in the basement of Penn Treaty. But if things go according to plan, it sounds like they will have a brand new building on their old grounds, which are at Richmond in Ontario. They will have a brand new building there in the coming years. Uh, Fittler, Overbrook and West Philly. Fittler, I believe, is in Germantown. And then SLA, Science Leadership Academy Middle School, or SLAMS, that's located in the University City area. And as I said earlier, with these schools, there is no specific criteria. They're not necessarily looking at grades or PSSA scores. Their enrollment is strictly lottery based. So if you apply, your name goes into the virtual hat, and it's just a matter of luck. So now I just want to talk to you all about accessing the application. So you can access the school selection application either through your parent portal or the student portal. If you don't have a parent portal set up, do not fret. All of your children have access to their own profiles, and you can get to the school selection dashboard right through their profile. Their login or username is their student ID, and they should all know their passwords. They're using their passwords throughout the day here in the building, and they should remember their student ID numbers, because that is also their lunch number. So that same number is used to access the dashboard. And from there, you'll go to the main menu, and that is by hitting these three lines at the top, and that will pull down a little toolbar. You'll click on Message Center, and then you can find the school selection dashboard right here. So what to expect when you're applying? Once you click that dashboard, for all of you, since your students were enrolled here at Hackett, I think everybody here was enrolled in Hackett last year, and probably even for third grade. All that data that is required for these criteria-based schools will auto-populate. So their grades from third grade, their grades from fourth grade will already be in there. Those PSSA scores already in there. Attendance scores already in there. Whether or not your child has an IEP, a 504 plan, or is an English language learner, all of that will be auto-populated. Also, your information, your student's name, your name, address, contact information will all auto-populate, and you're unable to change that. If you see any information that is incorrect, please reach out. Mrs. Lux here in the office would have to go in and change certain demographic information, like if you're seeing that your address is wrong, or the phone number or email address is incorrect. Please reach out to me and her so we can correct that on our end, but you will be unable to do that in the portal. You will be able to apply to up to 5 schools. You can choose to do 1, 2, 3, all 5, whatever you want to do. It's up to you. However, it does matter what order you are ranking them. You want to put them in order of preference, because in the initial lottery, students will only be offered up to 1 placement, and they are going to try to offer your highest rated school. So for instance, if Masterman is the school you want your child to attend, that should be your #1 school. Then list your second choice and go on. If on the day of the lottery and your child is eligible for Masterman's lottery, but they are waitlisted, it will go to the next school below. If they are waitlisted at that school, it will go to the next school below, and until they are offered something. They might be waitlisted at all schools, but they will only be offered one. In the past, you could be accepted to all 5 schools, and then you had this amazing decision to make. those days are gone. You're only going to get one offer. So if you get into your third choice, say, you could be waitlisted at options 1 and 2. If you, that means options 3, 4, and 5 will be gone forever. You have an offer at number 3. If space opens up at 1 or 2, you should accept number 3. But if space opens up at 1 and 2, you will be given an opportunity to say yes to 1 or 2 if space is available. But if space is not available, then you should have already selected the option that was presented to you. This is all very new, and I don't know why they made these decisions, but this is what we were working with this year. So ranked choice, if you get into a spot, do select it and accept it, because if spaces are open to the schools that are higher up on the list, you will have an opportunity to make those selections and change from that third place selection to something that you really wanted. But the things at below that third option will be gone forever. And I know we might have some questions about that. So we can talk about that a little bit after the presentation. And so here are some resources. If you just have some general questions about school selection, the timelines, what all of this is about, you can go to the school district's website and check out school selection. If you are doing the application and there's something on there that doesn't make sense to you, you have a question, you're getting error messages, please go to this website, to the Family Tech Support at philasd.org. And also there will be a series of application assistance labs throughout the city in the coming weeks. If you click this link, and I can click it now, you can pop into any of these sessions and they will be able to help you navigate the application. All right. Stop sharing. So what this will look like is you'll do your application, and in October, those applications will close. And there will be a process between October and January where they're reviewing things and whatever they're doing behind the scenes. And about mid to late January is when decisions come out. Once those decisions are out, they generally give folks about a week to offer a response. During that time, if you want to talk over the schools, see what the best fit might be for your child, if you have any nerves about that, please reach out. We can talk. But once the application closes, it's pretty much a waiting game. All right. So now I can get into any specific questions and try to help you all navigate this a little bit better. And if anybody wants to pull up their application now and like work through it, we could do that as well.
Hi, question about attendance. So I guess no, and seeing that, over the past couple of years, like, illnesses like COVID were a thing. Let's say a student missed a significant amount of time because they had COVID, right? So I mean, is that going to be a factor or something that they will kind of weigh towards the decision?
Well, if you submitted a note indicating COVID during that time, that should not be an issue. They're really looking at unexcused absences, so what we call like illegal absences. No,
Oh, okay.
call.
So a legitimate sickness, then that's okay, right?
That should not hinder them.
Okay. Good. Okay, good.
Yep. Go ahead.
Um, Funny question, so I'll just start with one. You said something about like the Hackett is offering like some sort of help with the audition process.
I'm not hearing you very well. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Is that better? No.
If you want to put in the chat, okay. Sorry about that.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Yeah, where can we check exactly these absences, how many were excused and unexcused? Can we just go to the main office and they'll give us a form?
You can go into the main, you can come to the main office. Let me see if it's available in the student portal really fast. So you can find it in the student portal, but it's only for the current school year. So
Okay.
if you have any questions, and if you want to just stick around after,
But
I
also
can-
the main office should definitely have all the files.
yes.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you, sir.
Yep. All right. So sibling preference, I'll start there. Sibling preference only works for catchment and citywide schools. It doesn't really apply to the criteria-based schools. But essentially, it's for the ease of families to make sure that if I already have a child at Amy 5, if I put their name on the application, their name and ID number, it'll be easier to get a sibling in. But that typically does not apply for the criteria-based schools because their expectation is that they still meet the criteria. As far as with the GAMP auditions, Ms. D in the past has pulled students just to work on a song or just to give them a little encouragement and support around getting ready for the performance. GAMP calls students to come in, pretty much all of their recruits at once. And they're asked to play their instrument and sing. I could put you in contact with some families who have undergone that process. A lot of them are outside at dismissal because some of their younger children still go here. So I know the carpool does drop off here. So I can put you in contact with them to really see like how that process was. And most folks come out of it not too worried, but it is like kind of like their first big audition.
I have a question about, oh, sorry, go ahead,
No,
Kimberly.
go ahead, please.
I have a question about catchment. Do we need to apply for catchment? Does it need to be one of our 5 choices?
So it depends. So you can apply to schools that are not your catchment school. You can apply to someone else's catchment school, essentially.
So yeah, our catchment school is actually H.A. Brown.
Okay.
So we could go there for middle school. I just don't know if we need to put it on the application.
Not need to put it on the application. You can just walk in and say, this is my address. Here's my proof of address and enroll me.
Okay.
You could do that in August, or you can do that in June. There is no pressure to try to handle all that during the school selection process.
Okay, so then if we, do 5 ranked choice on the 5 ranked choice schools on the application, and choose a spot at one of them, like get it in the lottery, say yes to it, and then decided to do our catchment school in August, is that a problem or is that allowed?
You can do that. You
Okay.
can absolutely
Alright.
do it.
Thank you.
Your neighborhood school is always your neighborhood school. They can
That's what I thought. This whole process though is like, oh.
Yes, but sometimes they might try to tell you otherwise, but do not let them. Your neighborhood school is your neighborhood school, and you can always say, we didn't want that. We had things came up during the summer. This is our home school. That's where we want to be.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Yes, Ms. Brzezinski.
So can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yes, much
Okay.
better.
So with the new process, okay, because last year we applied, we got waitlisted. None of those numbers moved at all.
Mhm.
Is this new system gonna make that better somehow?
That's what they're saying. I mean, they have changed this every year for the past 3 years. And so it's hard for me to keep on top of it. Like they just throw out a training and they're like, all right, well, this is what it is. But they don't really give me any back end access to the platform to even play around with it, to see how the drop down menus work or how they even look. So I couldn't even like really take a screenshot of the actual application so I could even present them to you. But I think by offering people like their third choice and then that automatically deleting out the fourth and fifth, it's going to ease it up for other folks. But right, like for colleges, it's all great to like receive all of those letters of like, I got accepted to all of these. And I personally believe our students have worked so hard over the years to have that privilege to say, like, I applied to these schools and I got accepted to all of them if I met the credentials for them and the criteria for them. But that's not what it is anymore. And I think it is to kind of alleviate these wait lists that never move.
It says you'll get like one initial offer, but is that guaranteed that you'll get one initial offer? No, right?
Up to one initial offer.
Okay, so what if by the end of the year you got nothing? What are you supposed to do then?
And then they're going to tell you your neighborhood school.
Lovely.
Mhm. And so, I encourage everybody to explore all of your options, right? You can do these 5 public schools, but you can also explore the charter school options. Those are completely external to this process and external to the district, but check them out. Their deadlines are pretty scattered throughout the year. Their applications are different. Some of them have a common app, some of them have like their own specific things. So definitely explore and look so you can have the most options available to you, and so you can make the best choice for you and yours. I think Penn Treaty has invited us for a class trip over there. We're still trying to figure out a date. It will be before the end of the close of school selection, but permission slips and all of that will be going home, and we will actually like to invite a few families to chaperone that trip just to get feet and bodies in there. But just since it's close, it's an opportunity for them to see what a middle school looks like, how students move around. And it is the neighborhood school. So I think it would be good for people just to even see. I think it's a good opportunity to see what's happening over there.
What about HA? Sorry, and I'll stop after this. What about HA Brown? Do you guys have a good relationship with them?
So we've had a couple of students go over to HA Brown. Last year we had a couple who applied and got in, but then we had folks who already lived over there, and so they just transferred over there. They just took their proof of address and enrolled. And from what I've heard, those students are doing well over there.
People have been talking about it on one of the Facebook groups, and the feedback has been really positive.
Yeah, we toured last year and I thought it looked really, really good.
Yeah. Last year I went over there with one of our students just to do a tour and meet their counselor. And their counselor, she seems wonderful. The school was really nice. Actually, we went over there and they had like a game room for Fun Fridays and their activities. And so, I had to go over there and steal that idea. So we're in the process of trying to make a game room here at Hackett for our students. So they do have some really amazing things. So good that we had to steal it. So, but HA Brown seems to be a good school. Adair does this pretty frequently where they're like, oh, well, we're full. I don't really think they're full. I think they just want to be hyper selective. They have their own kind of thing going on over there, whatever that is. But they have given families a hard time with getting in, and even folks who, found somebody who lived nearby who had an address at Adair, they've given them some headaches, but it has worked out for them.
I'm glad they're not on the list anymore because I feel like I wasted one of my spots last year because we applied to it. We were third on the wait list and we're still third on the wait list from January.
And what that is about, I had to have Todd go talk to their principal. But yeah, I think the application is really easy. It's just a series of like drop down boxes. If you have any issues, like you click through it really quickly. But if you have any issues or if you don't, clearly you all have computer access. But if you're talking to other families out there who don't have access, please send them my way. I'll help them out. And I know SLA had their open house today. SLA Beaver had an open house today that some folks went to. I don't know. Are you all getting the emails? Because I did send one out about that one. That seems like that went well. It's just far. Families really like it, but who can do that from here every day? It's rough. So.
They're all far. I have a question about the open houses, actually. Are those are students supposed to go to those as well, or are those for parents?
I would take them.
Okay.
Just give them the exposure, let them see the building, let them tell you no. If you take them, it won't be any issue here. When you bring them back, we'll just mark them present.
Okay. That was my other question, was like, seems like a lot of like, how many hours of school are they supposed to miss to go to open houses during school?
Yeah. Well,
Okay,
we'll excuse it all. You know, they will be missing some instruction, but there won't be any, consequences or any punitive things related to. Yeah.
I think they usually give you a note when you leave.
But check them out. And if a school is not offering an open house, make sure you just reach out to them and see if you can make an opportunity for yourself. Because I do think that's important. But if there are no more questions.
I have another one.
No, keep
So,
going.
Gamps Middle School open houses were last Thursday and today, and we couldn't make either of those work. Do you think that it would be enough exposure if we were to go to the audition, or should we also reach out and try to schedule schedule a time to go there outside of the audition?
I think the audition might be enough, but you can also like just schedule a time to go over there.
The audition, like, you don't get to see anything. The kids will get to go into the music room, but you just kind of stay in the auditorium. But you have the opportunity to like ask questions and talk to people and stuff. So if you can't, it's still, we'll give you something.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Well, thank you, Mr. Brown.
You're welcome. I hope this was helpful. And yeah, if you need any help at all doing like getting into the application or any problems, don't hesitate to reach out.
Can I one thing just popped into my mind. Is it better with this new system, apply to more or less? Or does it not make a difference?
I'm feeling like it's not going to make too much of a difference. Like if you only put one, like you only put your top.
Right.
Because then you could just get,
yeah. Guess not. Okay.
I feel like I read something that said apply to as many as you can that you're interested in, because if you don't get the one that you want and there's nothing else left, then you're out.
Yeah.
So I feel like I read it. I can't remember. Maybe it was on the website that was like apply to as many out of 5 as you can that you're interested in. So
yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
What I do remember reading somewhere was applying to less does not increase your chances of getting into that 1 or 2, which feels important.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, basically, I'm gonna have to open a private middle school.
You should.
I'd go there.
Really
would love it.
The options really aren't really all there. It is a really hard choice that you all have to make. Coming from here, it is hard to say like, all right, well, we're doing pin treaty next, right? Like that is a huge change of culture. And, if we're not getting into these criteria-based schools, like what are the other options? Driving across the city. One thing I can say though is Miss Collins, who used to work here, our special ed liaison from a few years ago, she went over to Amy to work with the middle schoolers, and it seems like they do have a good program over there. It still has middle school issues. I think those occur anywhere, urban, suburban, but they do have a really good program and a good climate and culture with staff who truly care. So that's my plug for her and them. But have a great evening, and I will see you all around. But shoot me an email if you need any help.
Thank you.
Thank
Right.
you.
Take care.